Welcome to the Pure Performance Cafe. May I take your order?
Yes, I would like a shot of Pure Performance, please.
Coming right up.
Hello, everybody. This is Brian Wilson with Pure Performance. We just got back from the Dynatrace Perform 2017 event in Las Vegas. What we're going to do in the next few Pure Performance Cafe episodes is take some excerpted highlights of the interviews from those and present them here. In this first session, we're talking with Anand Ahire of Electric Cloud.
Welcome back, everyone. This is James Pulley with Perf Bytes, live from Dynatrace Perform 2017. I'm here with Brian Wilson.
Hello, James. Pure Performance and
Pure
Dynatrace.
Performance. And Anand, is it Anand Ahire?
Very close, right there.
With Electric Cloud.
Hey,
welcome.
Nice guys. Thank you.
Anand.
So you're here in the vendor showcase area for Perform. Talk to us about Electric Cloud. What are your announcements for the show? What are you showing off? What's your integration with Dynatrace? Get us excited about Electric Cloud.
Wonderful. Hey, thanks, James. Thanks, Brian. I'm Anand Ahire. I am the Senior Director of Product Management at Electric Cloud. And before I talk about our partnership, Electric Cloud, we are as a company, we are a DevOps release automation vendor.
Okay.
Basically what that means is, we are able to manage the whole path to production of applications of any architecture, and make sure that, I guess the lofty goal of our product would be to remove the risks from the production rollouts, production releases, reduce your cycle times, increase your speed to market, do that with the visibility of the whole fidelity of the entire pipeline, and do it with compliance. Now, that was a big marketing talk.
Yeah.
But look, really, right?
So let's peel back the marketing layers.
Yeah,
let's get to the interesting geek stuff now.
Yeah, so the fundamental, there is a space that the Gartner and Forrester analysts have coined called application release automation.
Okay.
Now, this whole idea there is to remove the confusion that is there in the DevOps market space, where everyone claiming to be a DevOps vendor.
Right.
They have looked at the tools or the technology set that are well suited out of the box to solve the DevOps use cases of the end-to-end journey of software.
Okay.
Right after the developer has checked in code, doing everything that needs to be done through all of the different environment, different stages, all the way to the production. Managing all the tasks that need to be done, right from provisioning, configuring, deploying, and then calling the test automation technologies, making sure the approval decisions between one stage to another are factored in, getting the humans involved at the right time, automating as much as you can to really get that vision of trying to deliver software faster.
Okay.
Right? That's the space that ARA space is. Really, that's the space that is ARA space. And to remove the confusion from that, they have done both of them have done their own research. Gartner came out with a Magic Quadrant last year, and we're proud to be the #1 player in that space. So we are the number one.
So Gartner places you number one. What are the technical capabilities that pushed you to number one above the other vendors?
Oh, that's a great question, because like I said, there's a lot of confusion there. One of the things, so many of the confusion is caused by, I can do this using scripts or some open source options. In order to get to really the time to value, reduce the time to value for the customer, and try to get the visions of the business or delivering software faster and without risk. There are certain capabilities that you ask. One is, how do you think about deployment automation? How are you able to model your software, your application, so that you are able to deploy the same application consistently across different environments and stop the cliche statement of, it worked in my QA environment? Right. What we are able to do is, there is a notion called model-driven deployment.
Yes.
We are able to model an application, abstract the payload of a multi-tier application from where the environments that it is going. And now once you have done that, you can use the same model to deploy to different environments. So you can use the same model to deploy to QA, to prod in a consistent fashion using parameters. Now what that does is, production is not the first time you're trying to test out your deployment practices, and that has been tested out fine, right? So that's one important thing. In addition to that model-driven approach that talks about application modeling, environment modeling, working with the cloud vendors, what have you, containers, applications of any architecture, there is the whole other notion around managing not deployment of one app into one environment. You're also trying to, basically in an enterprise, you're trying to do multiple applications rollout across multiple environments.
And you know what? That begs the next question for priorities. If I'm rolling multiple applications onto a common platform, do I set priority for application A if its configuration should be preeminent versus B? Or do I have intelligence built in if A is already set a level that's higher than what is required, say, for file descriptors, then I don't need to change it for A as I deploy?
Again, that's a great question, James, because in reality, when these multiple applications are being deployed, each app itself has multiple components in it.
Yes.
Right? Each of that component has dependency among themselves. These versions need to be deployed before that one. And then there is a dependency across the infrastructure layer, right? The OS layer, the middleware layer. And then you take that layer even forward. In a multi-app release, each app depends on the other app, right? So there is a lot of dependency correlation management that needs to happen, which ends up being the fundamental root cause of, there are many root causes, but this is one of the key root causes of failures during rollouts.
Yes. In fact, we see that the last application usually takes priority and wipes out all the settings for previous apps.
So what we are able to do is completely manage this dependency, model this out, test this out in the earlier environments, make sure it is working fine. And then once you have tested the whole stack that works together, we are able to do things such as take a snapshot of that whole payload. So make sure that if this is the thing that was certified in your lower environments, that then becomes a currency to exchange with your next stage. That way you have guarantee that the exact artifact versions, exact process versions that were certified, they work together along with the configurations, is the exact payload that is moved forward in the pipeline. Really the dependency management, removing the variances and making sure that there is repeatability are the core capabilities which just come out of the box with product like us. Can you do that with scripts? You probably can. You probably can do everything with scripts. Really, where we come in is all of this is out of the box. We are also able to do things such as, tell you very clearly what is deployed where. Perennial question.
So do you integrate with different configuration management databases to pull that information in?
Yes, not just configuration management databases. This whole pipeline that we are able to automate, we have a whole pipeline orchestration technology. By the fundamental physics and the nature of the problem it is solving, heterogeneity and openness is extremely important, right? So absolutely, if there is some information about the environments and the IP addresses of the servers and many other things that need to be used for deployment is sitting in some of the CMDBs, we can pull that. By the way, I used to manage a CMDB in my past life, so I know exactly that use case. But all of the other technologies, right, you need to be able to provision at the right time. You need to be able to configure using Chef or Puppet at the right time. You need to be able to then run your test automation through your different test automation tools at the right time. So we manage that whole pipeline for the customer. Now, while that's what we do, your original question was what's up with us and Dynatrace.
Yes.
Right? So let me come to that, which is we are very proud.
Because we could be very cool chat on this all afternoon. But we're at Dynatrace Perform, so we need to
Yes, let's talk about that because we announced a partnership with Dynatrace yesterday, which is a very exciting partnership for us because we believe, we believe that there is a significant synergy between the DevOps release automation space and the APM space. And I'm very heartened to see some of the talks that have happened here through the CTO of Dynatrace, the VP of products of Dynatrace, where they're talking about DevOps and the whole notion of shifting left. Right? So we are really part of the left, if you think about it.
So this gives you more actionable business intelligence that you can use as part of build management to say, okay, things may look good from a yes-no QA perspective, but underneath the covers we have some issues that we need to resolve, and so the business intelligence says, don't carry this forward as part of the build.
Exactly. So there are spot on. There are a couple of extremely compelling scenarios that we are actually announcing with this partnership. The first one is what we talked about here, shift left performance. Those are not my words. Actually, those are words of Dynatrace, Andy's words. And the problem is exactly what you talked about, James, which is why do you want to wait for problems to surface themselves in the production? Wouldn't it be great if you can find them sooner? And on the surface, UI and functionality might look fine, but deep architecturally, there could be issues. And over a period, we have also experienced, and so has Dynatrace, our partners have experienced, is those deep architectural things end up being the root causes of a lot of performance issues.
Right. You have your new bit of code, and Unbeknownst, yes, it passes the functional test, but that just somebody added 30 database queries.
We're just going to ask the performance question earlier and earlier and earlier, and until we we don't have to ask it any longer.
Absolutely, because we as ElectricFlow is the name of our technology product. We manage the whole pipeline, right? We have a lot of significant control over what's happening in the prior environments. So the first story with Dynatrace, which is a fully integrated bidirectional integration, is at any point in your pre-prod, the further you can go upstream, the better. But before production, it could be your staging environment, your UAT environment, or QA, or even dev environment. Right. We are able to, after the build is deployed, we can deploy the build, then call Dynatrace, run your test automation, pass the test over to Dynatrace's AppMons, the test automation capability that Dynatrace has, which is phenomenal capability, which is able to compare the current build's performance to the baseline and tell whether this has degraded or not. Right? So we are able to, first of all, make all of this transparent and just automate the whole thing so that even the AppMon capability for large just goes behind the scene. It's just what it's supposed to do. It gives us the results back. The entire result from AppMon around, these were the tests that were run, this was the result, these many were successful.
So you're grabbing those through like the API?
We work with the API layer, the REST API layer of Dynatrace, get all the data back, show that to the pipeline user, and in a very nice, easy to understand view. So first of all, that's one thing. So everyone who's got access to the pipeline, all stakeholders see that. Yeah. But where it becomes important is we're able to then use all of that data coming back from AppMon to make actionable decisions. Right? You can write policies such as, if I see the performance degrade, stop the build from going forward.
Right.
Makes sense.
Sure. If you degrade by 2% per build over 36 builds, you've doubled the response time.
Absolutely. And you can set all those policies. Not every build, just because it degraded a little bit, needs to be stopped. You can set up things such as, if it degrades by this much, get some human involved.
Yeah.
Right? Get the eyes on here and say, do you still want to make the decision or not? The further you can go in the pipeline, the better it becomes. And this is the shift left scenario that we are very excited to talk about. The second scenario that we are also very interested and very, very happy about is the whole idea is about however much we want to stop bad things from getting into production. We know that it's a reality that some of them will creep there because we may not have all the test cases or just something that slips through, right? And how do you make sure that once that happens, you have a quick turnaround for A, understanding what the root cause is of the performance issues, and B, recover from that with a rollback. So the second scenario is automated rollback for self-healing. Right? Something I believe Alois in the first keynote talked about.
Yes,
talked about.
With the Davis and
the actual Davis example in this case.
But we are taking that to the whole enterprise level, right? We are a tool that again has the complete visibility across all of the deployments. We have the package created. We understand exactly what the builds were deployed. When we deploy the build into production or the version of the new app into production, we are first of all going to tell Dynatrace that a deployment happened.
Right.
Whether it is good or bad, you need to tell that a deployment happened. Because having that line,
a point in time.
That's another API that you're using?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're creating that as visibility, right?
Okay, this is great, yeah.
Right, so visibility is there. You get all the data about this application with this version was deployed in this environment. And now imagine that ends up causing service degradation. You can write policies based on certain thresholds, the incidences that Dynatrace is monitoring, and take some action. Any action that you can take. One of the action that we are automating here is automated rollback. If you see certain triggers being crossed, then you can have an immediate bidirectional API. We have created an action plugin on the Dynatrace side. The code for that, by the way, is checked already into the GitHub. Awesome. And so is the of the Dynatrace GitHub. But what the action plugin will do is do a callback into ElectricFlow's REST API. Right? And then you can say that just look at the last deployment. If that indeed is the root cause of this issue, go ahead and start the rollback process. It'll automatically do it. It knows no further data needs to be exchanged because ElectricFlow was the tool that did the deployment initially, and it has a very deep smarts into what is happening on that environment. We are able to exactly know what is deployed right now, but what was deployed before the problem occurred. Yeah. We are able to restore that very quickly. That is one use case. There are many other use cases this opens up because at the core we are an automation tool. One of the things that we see one of our leading customers do is they start noticing performance degradation more around the CPU starts to get pegged. and that typically would CPU gas to get pegged or response time start to suffer, is not so much a bad code, but it is capacity issue. You need to add more capacity. There could be other use case, which is I see that there is a problem that might happen with the peak load coming in, and you want to spin up new VMs, configure them, put code on it, and put them in the web farm so that you have more capacity to handle the load. You can do all that automation.
So this is the classical design for the cloud case where I may have consumers off of a queue,
yes.
where I'm not hard connected between my tiers. I'm using a queue for synchronization, and the queue starts backing up, so I spin up more instances, more queue consumers, and then after the queue is emptied, then I start shutting them down.
Absolutely, right. So, and that's the promise of the tools like technologies, great technologies like Dynatrace, who are able to understand this impending issue that might occur, who's able to do quick alerts. And then automation technologies like us, which have a very deep understanding of provisioning, configuring, more importantly, managing the deployments, we are able to work together and, based on certain policies, do all of these cool things. Right?
Excellent.
So that's really what we are very excited about, is how do you take and there is, like I said, there is a very tremendous synergy between the DevOps release automation players like us and the APM, because end of the day, it's really about the customer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard this same DevOps story from a lot of different vendors here at this show, many more than I guess it was 16 months ago when we were in Orlando. Yeah. So it's definitely pushing hard and fast. And we're seeing also on the performance testing, performance engineering side of the house, more of that responsibility being taken up by developers, more of the shift left responsibilities. But the tool chain in many cases is not mature, which you're attacking, to help support with business intelligence. If we have degradation, do we carry a piece of code forward? Do we roll back? Things of that nature.
Almost goes into our Davis conversation earlier about if we could feed that in and says, no. Don't take it forward. And of course, you're going to auto fail. But we were saying, like, he wanted to be able to have the artificial intelligence read the requirements and say, you don't have anything about security in your requirements. You don't have anything about performance in your requirements. We're not even going to start this build. Obviously, that's kind of out in the future.
If you think about it, it's possible to implement that, right? If that becomes, because fundamentally it's about coming up with a checklist of these need to be passed before you could let something go forward.
Yeah.
Right? It's about
because if there's nothing about security present, if there's nothing about performance present, that means every single person who picks up that document has a set of assumptions about those two elements, which are separate and distinct from every other person.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the thing there is getting the cultural awareness of that. Then thinking about it needs to be done. But more importantly, automating that. Because if you have one release that is happening in 3 months, probably you can have that whole documented way of checking through some big 40-page document.
But if it's in process today, it's a lot more difficult.
Especially with the sample size going down, especially with the re-architecture of the applications, microservices, the whole notion of move fast. You want to have all of this automated. That's the only way you're going to really, in our opinion, get handle over this. And the further you can go upstream, that's better. But you need to have that control. And that's where we come in to help that automation. And with Dynatrace, we can start putting all of these policies in place.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
It's wonderful talking with you, Brian. And great talking with James. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you'd like to cover?
No, this has been great. Like I said, we are very happy to be associated with Dynatrace because Dynatrace are a leading vendor in their own space, and we are number one in our space. So just validation and vindication of our story being told on stage. The only thing that I'll add is we have had tremendous booth traffic here.
Right.
Got 400 plus custom, and counting.
And
fantastic!
And you got to be right by the.
You were right in the avenue going to and from the food
spot right there, right?
Yeah, the spot is great. The conversations have been very rich. So it's one thing thinking about these problems in our labs. It's amazing to come out here and get validation of those things from these key practitioners. So it's been great. It's a tremendously validated story. And we're just going to now hope that we are able to keep preaching this and have more and more customers benefit from this.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing the integration.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.